License to Kill? A Bond film way before its time? Or is it just a good 80s action flick? Hello, Vicky here, and welcome to this week's edition of the Bond Room Unlocked, whereby I take a piece of memorabilia from this 26-year-old Bond collection and relate it to a film that we know and love. In this week's, it is License to Kill, with the help of fans from the Bond community, Robert Baum, Robert Gibb and Luke Arnold. So, many times before I have mentioned that I am a Formula Bond fan. Gadgets, girls, locations, one-liners, the things that we look out for in every film that appear each time. So why is it that License to Kill, which steers away from Bond normality, rates highly with me?
License to Kill is a very underrated James Bond film, and I think it's actually Timothy Dalton's best outing as 007. Too bad there weren't more. It made Bond not so much going toe-to-toe with the likes of, or proving that he was worthy of inclusion with Moore and Connery, but it was more in keeping him going toe-to-toe and shoulder-to-shoulder with action heroes of the day as those played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Harrison Ford, Bruce Willis and Mel Gibson.
Yes, and that's why this film divides opinions with fans. Did it steer too much towards the 80s action film? Now bear in mind that Cubby Broccoli wanted to make a grittier, more real film on the back of the Roger Moore, more lighter-hearted films. He wanted to compete with the Lethal Weapons and the Die Hards of the time. Now, Soviet relations with the West were beginning to ease. And as we know, Bond had many an encounter with Soviet threat during the 60s and 70s. So what could provide the villainry within this new film? Now, during the 70s and 80s, drug smuggling was a huge problem for the US and Mexican and Colombia territories. Drug lords like Pablo Escobar and Miguel Gallardo proved to be real threats for the West. And if you are interested in the backstory to this, I would definitely recommend you watch Narcos, which is currently being shown on Netflix. And this delves into the drug cartels and the reality of drug smuggling through the 70s and 80s. Now, talking of realism and having a drug lord as the villain of License to Kill was something very different to that of the megalomaniac villains of the past, like the Goldfingers and the Blofelds in particular. Now, Robert Davi, who was ultimately a friend of Cubby Broccoli, was hired to play Franz Sanchez, a charming yet deadly adversary for Bond, who showed no mercy if anyone got in his way.
I want you to know this is nothing personal. It's purely business.
Sorry, old buddy, but $2 million is a hell of a chunk of dough.
Killing me won't stop anything, Sanchez!
There are worse things than dying, hombre.
See you in hell!
No. Today is the first day of the rest of your life.
It's got a great nemesis in the form of Robert Davi, and it's great to see Felix Leiter return, playing a bigger role in the film and having David Hedison return to the role.
Indeed, it was great to see David Hedison return after his stint as Felix in the 1973 film Live and Let Die. So much so that Hedison's Felix is integral to Licence to Kill's film plot. Newlywed, wife murdered, and then Felix, as you've just seen, maimed in a terribly gruesome way. This certainly does give Bond the motive for revenge.
Felix, you'll be all right. Hang on.
Hey, Lighter, where you been?
It's Bond. Get an ambulance here, quick.
Well, good evening all. The question I've been asked today is, what are my thoughts of Licence to Kill? Well, initially, not as good as The Living Daylights, but it was well constructed and very well acted by Timothy Dalton. Like George, he had the capacity to do a few more films, but elected to leave the franchise. In both his films, he showed the true 007 character, with his cold-hearted killer mode and his sentimental, kind-hearted mode. I thought he was an excellent Bond and his portrayal marvellous. So, back to you, Victoria.
Thanks, Robert. Some very interesting points about Dalton there. You truly believe that this actor has nailed the revenge aspect of the film. You believe that this agent is on a mission of personal pain to get revenge for what has been done to his friend Felix and his wife.
Freeze! Over by the trap door, old buddy.
That's where you put your old buddy, Felix.
Not me. Chalk that one up to Sanchez and Crest.
There's $2 million in that suitcase. I'll split it with you. You earned it. You keep it, old buddy.
God, what a terrible waste of money.
So the item I want to share with you today that relates to our film Licence to Kill is this leaflet that promotes the release of the film. And you would have found these in cinemas and maybe video stores at the time. And it is a fold-out leaflet. It's in absolute mint condition considering its age. And inside here we have really visual aspects of the film, a huge explosion there from the tanker, and it just basically just tells you a little bit about the film. It gives you a little bit of a teaser. Timothy Dalton makes an explosive return as James Bond in Licence to Kill. His licence revoked because of a personal vendetta, and so on and so forth. And on the reverse side of it, there you go, we've got him there out on his own, which is obviously highlighting the fact that he's out for revenge. And it just tells you when this is released. and it's a really nice item. These type of promotional items are the things that I really like from Bond merchandise. They come out when the films are released, and you know, you don't tend to get these sort of things now, but this is a great item from 1989. Now, one of the things you'll notice from the clips previous that I've shown is that the deaths are far more gruesome than that of previous Bond films. And this is part of Cubby's choice of having Bond more hard-hitting and in your face, and which is why the film had a 15 certificate rating at the time, due to the amount of violence in the film. And for me, this film holds one of the grimmest deaths in all of the Bond films.
You're dead.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Are you all right?
Switch the bloody machine off!
I wasn't mincing my words there. How the tables turn. Now, it's interesting there, actually, at that scene, that as Dario falls to his demise, he shouts Sanchez's name.
Well, hello yet again. Back on Licence to Kill. Licence to Kill brought a new perspective to 007 and his relationship with Felix and his wife-to-be, showing the kind and loving side of Bond. Locations for the film made the story from the outset. Key West in Florida to the Omni Ceremonial Center in Mexico. The parachute arrival at the wedding of Felix and Della was perfectly shot and even looked as if it could have been part of the original arrangements. The finale of the film, involving the large Kenilworth petrol tankers, again in Mexico, was nail-biting and showed Timothy yet again in his killer mode. I think both of these films hold their own very well alongside the other 23, and it's just a shame he didn't do a few more.
Dalton very much plays Bond the closest to Ian Fleming's literary character. And he remains one of the favourites with Bond fans in the community, despite his films having a lukewarm reception in 1987 and 1989. But could he have done more, as Robert has pointed out? Well, yes, he could have, and he would have. But due to delays and court action and the fact that when a new film was in production or starting to arise, producers felt that because Dalton's films were not received as previous Bond films had, and that they wanted to introduce Bond to a new audience, the rest was history, and Pierce Brosnan took over. Luke, what are your thoughts on Licence to Kill?
Good evening, hope this finds you well. Thank you very much for selecting Live Like 007 to give you a quick 1 minute to 2 minute review on what I think of Licence to Kill. So, Timothy Dalton's second outing as 007 with Sanchez smuggling drugs across the world and a personal vendetta after maiming 007's friend and ally, Felix Leiter. So what to say about the film? It's pretty brutal. Originally called License Revoked, until the Americans didn't understand what revoked was, apparently. It's now Licence to Kill, which makes a little bit more sense. Quite brutal. We have Bond going on a crazy vendetta, being dismissed from Her Majesty's government. It's a little bit full on, but I think it's actually Dalton coming into a true Bond of the books. and I love it. I love Dalton anyway, with Daylights and License to Kill, and I think, you know, the Robert Darby as a villain, brilliant. You know, I know he reads for Bond in back in the day, but yeah, fantastic film, great action, one of the biggest explosions of its time with the oil tankers. But yeah, great, classic Dalton, violent, a little bit ahead of its time. I think if you brought it out now, it'd be quite normal with the Craig films. But yeah, brilliant movie, great script, great acting, a good way for, unfortunately, Dalton to end his tenure. Yeah, thanks for your time.
So that's it. I hope you have enjoyed this brief look at License to Kill. If so, then please give it an MI6 stamp of approval and click on the notifications below. It would be great to hear your thoughts on License to Kill. Do you find it underrated? Leave some comments below after the video has finished. And why not subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on any further missions? There are some crazy things coming up. And you can find the Bond Room Unlocked on Facebook and on Instagram. Just knock the door and I will let you in. And I'd like to thank Robert and Luke for their thoughts on Dalton and his second outing as Bond in License to Kill. Some great thoughts. Bond fans are the best. And finally, I'd like to thank you for first supporting this channel and for joining me and Bond fans across the community. And I'll see you next week at the Bond Room Unlocked.